When we're organizing speeches, there are some key considerations that we need to think about. The first is that we want to manage the number of main points that we have. And a good guideline is to have 2 to 5 depending on the length of your speech. Obviously, if you only have one main point, that's just sort of one idea and you're not really going any further than that. So to have at least 2 is pretty necessary. But you can have too many, and that's why it's a good idea to try to cap it at 5, because if you have too many main points, then it starts to water down the importance of those points. Another consideration is to have balance amongst your main points. And what that means is that when you're providing evidence for each of those points, you make sure that you provide enough and that each one gets about as much attention as the others. I've had some speeches that start out with that first main point and it's just so well argued and great evidence, and you're thinking, oh, this is going to be so awesome, and then the next couple of points don't have so much evidence, and you're kind of wondering, well, what happened with those other points, and how that impacts your audience's interpretation is it's likely to make them feel like, well, they did a really good job on that first main point, but I think they neglected these other 2 a little bit too much. So we want balance. Make sure that you have enough evidence and that each main point gets an equal amount of treatment as far as how much support it gets. And then we also need to consider the primacy-recency effect. And what the primacy-recency effect tells us is that people tend to remember the things that come first and the things that come last best. So we want our most important ideas at the beginning and at the end. And that means that our introduction needs to have our thesis statement and our point preview. And it also means that our conclusion needs to have our thesis restatement and a summary of those main points, because the thesis and those main points are the most important ideas that we want our audience to take away.